Hey everybody, Jester Borris here with I Want to Be a GM, and thank you for joining our end of year program for 2024. With me today,
I'm Troy the Planescape Guy, and I can't believe we made it to the end of another year.
that's right. You guys came with us hopefully through the multiverse this year as we looked at different game systems that are available for you to play. We're going to highlight some of those. We absolutely have our favorites. There's our staples. We're going to look at what we had a lot of fun with this year, a ton of live events. And then we're going to get into what we plan on for next year, and we hope you'll join us for that as well. So here we go. Troy.
What?
It has been crazy this year.
It has been very busy.
Mhm.
I don't know if that statement's a simple statement, but it doesn't begin to describe everything.
And I know we talked about this a lot. We really appreciate everyone's support. I know we're a small channel. The YouTube thing is something that we do to help supplement some of our efforts. We work a lot live. We do events with our local game stores. This year we did a series with Christian County Library System.
Yep.
That was really cool. Games and classes.
And we gamed last night at a game store.
Yep. Shout out to Haven Games, 12 days of D&D.
And as a werewolf, I got to kill Krampus.
So you're welcome for that, Troy.
It was a lot of fun.
A little bit of World of Darkness. Always a good hit for the holidays, I think.
Werewolves?
Werewolves, vampires, Krampus. Oh my.
Nathan's doing one next week. It's the Lynch that stole Christmas.
Yes, the Lich That Stole Christmas. We're going to try to hit that game Monday night.
Yeah, Monday night. If you got nothing to do and you're in the Nixon, Missouri area, I highly suggest looking it up. The Lich That Stole Christmas. Can't wait.
I'm excited for it. So, man, it's just... and here's the other thing we're looking at, too. We're going to have another busy year next year.
That doesn't even begin to describe next year.
No, it's been fun.
I feel like I'm already wore out from next year.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
All the planning and things. So, to that end, our streaming schedule will pick up as we have for the last couple years in March. We're going to take January, February off of the streaming as we get things settled for some of the cons that we're going to be going to. We'll talk about more in a second, but we've got
a bunch of projects that we work on, and those 2 months are basically our writing months. Mm-hmm. And I know he's got 2 adventures to finish up, and I've got one that I'm trying to get published. And January, February is going to be busy for me, and there are other classified top secret things going on that maybe someday we'll.
Mm-hmm. And it's a chance for us to link up with our artists again. Shout out there to Nathaniel Thomas Toynes. Look him up on Facebook. An excellent artist working on some of the projects with us. So we just get in touch with him, get some of our art finished. We've got some more publications. So we're excited for it. We need to take some time to be able to hit those and focus on those beyond what we do on a regular day-to-day. We've all got 9 to 5s, as it were, right now. So
yeah,
we stay busy with that too.
Oh yeah, and regular jobs.
And that's the hard part about being involved in a hobby that does take some time commitment, right? Like,
yeah.
Well, I just don't want to write anything after I have to drop an engine. You know what I mean?
For sure. And that's where, and how many games have we had of our own, or games we've talked to different people that their challenge is finding the time for everybody to get together. Yeah. Which I think is why we've seen a rise in the utilization of online tools like playing over Discord, the expansion of Roll20, or not Roll20, what is it?
It's something 20.
No, it is Roll20 because I always mix it up with Critical Role, which is fantastic. So go check them out as well. But yeah, Roll20, and then D&D Beyond has even expanded their digital tool set. For people that are either using those tools to supplement their prep or to play online exclusively.
That's something that came out, and these books came out this year. This is the in-print 2024, the Dungeon Master's Guide and Player's Handbook. We're going to get the Monster Manual, comes out soon.
February.
We'll get a copy of that. But we also have an online account, so we have access to all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So when we do our live events, we can keep up to date with all the rules and latest happenings with characters and all that goodness that compiles all that mess. Yeah.
One thing I do want to mention while we're on the topic, we finally got some official 5e content for Greyhawk. Not what we had hoped for, but it's nice to see Greyhawk finally coming into an official capacity in the 5th edition. and that is a cool classic world setting.
In the DMG, there's, I think it's 30 pages, 32 pages. Plus they have a pull out map out of the back of it.
Oh yeah, I forgot we brought that up there. So that was actually a nice printing.
Yeah, it is. The map is definitely some nice artwork as well.
And the reverse side is the full city of Greyhawk.
Mm-hmm.
So it's if you guys aren't running games like in Neverwinter or Waterdeep, there's several adventures for 5th edition and Waterdeep. Yep. Take a look at maybe running something in Greyhawk City.
Greyhawk is the stereotypical fantasy land. Knights in shining armor and dragons. Dragons are rare and very deadly. All kinds of monsters, orcs, goblins, all of those guys are in abundance. But your evil wizards on a mountaintop, that's where they came from. In fact, there's an area called Valley of the Mage.
Well, what's that country there called Ayuz? I'm pretty sure that has something to do with evil mages on the top.
That's Ayuz, a death god.
Yeah, he's not a very nice guy.
And that's his country.
Yeah. If any of you have heard of the Circle of Eight, you got Bigby, Mordenkainen,
Rory, Tasha,
all those guys. Yeah, they came from Greyhawk.
Their names are on half the spell list.
Yeah, they came from Greyhawk. It was the first world setting made by Gary Gygax.
Yeah,
and the people at his table were playing Rory and Mordenkainen and Tasha. Those characters were the first characters played.
Yeah,
and they rose in level and power, and now they're in their own country in Greyhawk.
For sure. Don't forget that you can also check your local game stores for first and second edition material that is printed for Greyhawk. 3 box sets and a series of modules. The original Tomb of Annihilation, known as the Tomb of Horrors, placed in Greyhawk and was updated for 5th edition's release. And now the lore is actually adjusted where Asarak has many of these tombs to be discovered.
Because one's not enough.
Yeah, well, as an ancient lich, you have to have a hobby, right?
Oh, this is my summer dungeon.
Yes, it's my summer dungeon on the Isle of Jolt. It's a nice escape from when my dungeon gets snowed in the land of Greyhawk.
Oh my gosh.
Of course, we did get to that point. Some additional Vecna material this year.
Yes.
Asarak was the apprentice to Vecna, and now they're both high level, powerful, and malevolent liches.
And Vecna was one of the individuals named in the white box from 1977.
He's been with the game for
the full
50 years.
Has he been missing his hand for the entire time?
This one back here?
Yeah, that one, yeah. We found that at a thrift store when we went to Sigil last week. That was good.
Yeah. That's the hand.
I'm gonna change the camera so I can actually see the hand right behind you. There it is.
Yeah, Troy, you got it's just hanging out there.
Permanently in the high five pose.
Yep.
And everyone's been leaving it hanging.
Is my head in the way? Yeah, my head's in the way.
Move your giant head, Troy.
Giant head. Here we go.
I don't know what would be worse, leaving Vecna hanging or giving him a high five.
Either way, just don't look at it for too long. Direct eye contact may be hazardous. Surgeon General's warning on this one. Known to the state of California. Some Prop 65 on that.
Has been mostly cause cancers.
Yep.
Yes.
While we're talking about this, one of the things that's always fun to share is some of the stuff, because we've been involved with the game for so long. We told the story a little bit earlier this year about the head of Vecna.
That's one of my favorite stories.
And so we don't get publications like this much anymore, but Dragon Magazine was where you'd found this originally, Troy.
Yeah. Dragon Magazine, if you don't know what Dragon Magazine was, it makes me a little sad for you. There's 2 magazines, actually, one called Dragon and one called Dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
And the Dungeon, they were a monthly publication because before the internet, all us nerds had to keep in contact with each other some way. So Dragon Magazine, Dungeon Magazine would come out monthly with character classes, spells, dungeon adventure. They would have stories. People would write in articles.
Knights of the Dinner Table
comic. Knights of the Dinner Table comic strip was
Boom,
hilarious. Yeah. It was just a D&D nerd magazine, and I've got a footlocker full of them because I had a subscription for many years. Well, in one of those issues, I don't remember which, because anybody that's played D&D for years knows about the hand and eye Vecna as actually his body parts that he infused with terrible, powerful magic and somebody can come along, cut off their hand, put his in place, and then they will have a lot of these abilities.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing with the eye. Well, just so happens that there was an adventuring group, treasure lustful.
Yeah, power gamers.
And they came across a room where there's some bodies, and there was a head that was laying there, and it looked very skeletalized, and it had runes and jewelry and stuff on it, very much like this one here. And they were convinced that it was the head of Vecna, even though they had no documentation to go by. And so,
before this article, this had never been, as far as I know, an idea that had ever been floated. Maybe in certain circles you can get like, oh yeah, we got the hand and the eye. Maybe there's like the ear or the big toe. That sort of like goofy stuff.
Yeah, the toenail clippings.
The crust of Birdman. But yeah, so carry on.
Even still, I can't believe how anybody would think it would be a good idea.
For sure.
So if you're going to have the power of the hand of Vecna, you got to cut your hand off.
Right. So it requires body part replacement.
Yes.
Because he was a lich. He was in full necromancy.
Yes.
And part of his power was that he ascended to the level of a demigod.
Yes.
And so these are almost artifact level components at this point.
They are artifacts with terrible powers. And so you cut your hand off, you put that one in place, it grafts onto your body. It still looks like a skeletal hand, but now you have a lot of abilities. So the eyeball, you gouge out your eyeball and you pop that one in there, and it looks like this crazy dead eyeball, but you have magical powers now. And so they were convinced that this body they came across had the head of Vecna. And one person in the party, being the most greedy, says, hey, to the barbarian, I'm going to bend over this table. I want you to cut my head off, and I want you to put that head in place of my head when I'm laying on the floor. And okay. So they did it, and of course he was dead. And the DM who wrote the story to Dragon Magazine asked the question at this time. I'll ask you guys, how many characters in the party do you think repeated that process before they stopped?
I know the answer. This is comment now. This is one of those things there.
How many people willfully had their head cut off to receive the head of Vecna?
And particularly when you consider the first guy, right? He's dead. You put the head in place. Nothing happens.
Well, it's a high powerful magic item. You have to attune to it.
Well, that's what we're talking about. Yeah, was he not compatible? Was he not strong enough?
Yeah,
was he not evil? Maybe it was an alignment problem. Alignment was a big thing in
so many.
D&D.
There's so many things you could say. Well, it didn't work because of this or that. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to try.
Yes.
Next guy.
Until we had how many left here?
So how many people were at the table is the real question.
So the story, the person that walked out of the dungeon was the barbarian carrying the head of Vecna.
Everyone else died.
He was left because
there was no one to cut his head off.
There was no one left to cut his head off. There's the one person left in the group to leave.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can't cut my own head off and put it on.
So as a DM, I want you to look out there. The party can TPK itself with absolutely no input or assistance from you. And if they do that, simply point out their folly and ask them if they want to make characters.
Well, here's the thing. They did get one of the most powerful gifts of all, Troy.
Yes, they got to make a new character.
They got to make a new character.
Oh, yeah, resurrection. Nice.
Right, yeah, But... hand and eye of Vecna, head of Vecna.
The only time I've ever had a TPK, it was the party's fault, and it was that giant mouth in the Tomb of Annihilation that had the Orb of Destruction in it. Everyone crawled through it, and they all died.
So when we played that back in the day, the first party was half wiped out. We dragged back bodies, got one or two of them resurrected, regrouped ourselves, rehealed, resupplied, and went back in. And it was like 2 or 3 of the party made it out. We never completed it. Played through over half of it twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very deadly dungeon. So
that's the Gygaxian era. It was one of his favorites.
Oh yeah.
It was just a literal meat grinder.
Yep. We didn't start games unless you had 3 characters. Because you were going to die.
Tomb of Annihilation, I think, was a little bit irritating to try to run Because whenever the player says, I want to check this thing, you have to be like, where exactly did you check? Tell me specifically how you're checking it.
Right, because it matters and how I'm going to kill you.
Yeah,
yeah.
Because that tile right there, that's not a trap, but the tile next to it is a trap.
Yeah.
So...
Or if you stand on both tiles simultaneously, it's a different trap that can kill that guy over there. You're like, oh my god.
It's really annoying to try to like do all the paperwork while the party's doing crazy.
Do all the paperwork. Yeah. I feel like that lady in the first Beetlejuice trying to get those guys. They're like, you get back there and you scare them out of your house. It's like, I gotta fill out the documents. How do you inspect? Oh my gosh. That's not how you inspect a light socket. Anyway.
Did you check for traps last week?
Yeah, you did.
Did you check for traps this week?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But
so our multiverse. This year we did Through the Multiverse. And we looked at Essence 20, Pathfinder, GURPS, Savage World, Star Wars, Star Trek, Fallout, Cyberpunk, and there may be another one.
The World of Darkness.
World of Darkness.
Yeah, Vampire the Masquerade, Hunter the Reckoning, and Werewolf the Apocalypse are the current V5 editions, also from Renegade. So Renegade does the Essence 20 books, which includes some of our favorites like G.I. Joe, My Little Pony, Power Rangers, and Transformers.
Does that mean I can have werewolf Transformers?
No, they're not the same system. Do not be a werewolf Transformer. We do not need that.
We really, really don't.
We do. They are adding, if you guys haven't seen it yet, to the Essence 20 game system, Welcome to Night Vale. One of the coolest podcasts out there. If you're not familiar with it, please go check it out. Give it a listen. Well done, Cthulhian stuff.
All hail the Gold Cloud.
But to be able to add that in there, like, this is what I want to see is Cobra mixing with Cthulhian stuff.
No.
That can only be defeated by the power of friendship with My Little
Because they have that.
They do. And that's the fun thing about the Essence 20 system in particular was that it's designed to mix and match. It allows that flexibility, so you can play a straight Transformers game, or you can mix all of the systems or one or two of the systems.
Oh, man, you have Cobra messing with unknowable horrors, and then Rita Repulsa makes them bigger.
Yeah. Lord Zed shows up. That's not a putty. You know.
Thumb guys.
Yeah.
Oh my lord.
But so Renegade Game Studios is a big one. Modifius, all sort. We looked at a lot of them out there, and we of course didn't cover all the games that are even available from some of these guys. So.
But I do want to go back and
Fallout. I think was that on your list as well. We did Fallout. Yeah.
Fallout's on my list. It's right there.
I'm making sure.
So the special guest we had with Star Trek, he was pretty cool.
Well, for sure, and that's one of the things that's been fun is it's why we go to cons, so we can meet the people that are in the industry.
He's actually a writer in some of the game material. His name's on the box, so to speak.
Right. So, well, he's got 9 credits across that for Star Trek Adventures first and second edition. He worked on the second edition source book, which is available now, local game stores. And it's pretty cool. It uses the 2D20 system that Modifius has devised, and it's a very narrative system. Without, you don't have the hard limits of like a pass-fail DC like we'd see in Dungeons and Dragons. So there's a lot of flexibility in the way that's done. And that was true of a lot of the things that we looked at this year. It's not that the Dungeons and Dragons is doing anything wrong, but there's a lot of systems that are out there trying to capture more narrative aspects or allow a broader style of storytelling. So
if you guys want to see somebody that is an actual authority on the system and material, check out our Star Trek show. Because, the guy was, he was a credited writer for several of the things.
I feel bad because I forgot his name. And
I can't remember his name
either. He lives local. We'll have to look that up. Mr. Producer, look that up. Find out our guest's name.
Oh, yeah. That's what producers are supposed to do.
Yeah, keep us on track there.
I think he's playing solitaire on the computer.
No,
that man is...
check audio.
That man is... Wait, check audio?
What do you mean check audio?
I'm trying to check audio.
Check audio. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Mr. Producer, look that up. Find out
I guess. Okay. I guess my phone's not working.
Mr.
If
Producer,
anybody out there knows how to run a storyboard,
yeah.
We'll pay you double.
It's all right. So, for sure, it's been nice to have some guests. The Star Trek system, I think, was probably the most unique that we looked at because of the kinds of stories, the kinds of characters that we get into with Star Trek. I do appreciate that they recognize that the ship is a character within the story as well.
Yes.
So
I found that to be very interesting. The way they described the characteristics. Like your character has strength, intelligence, all these different things, and they cross over into the way they describe the ship.
Well, they use the same mechanics, but it was nice. Like the Enterprise, particularly with Kirk's era, was a character within the ship, within the story. As much as Scotty or Spock or anybody else, it wasn't central to the story just because everybody was flying around on it. It had its own sort of aura about it. It became, particularly when we see it get shot to pieces, Wrath of Khan.
Cry for her.
Yeah, and then it burns in on Star Trek 3, Search for Spock.
Cry again.
The loss of the ship. So those sorts of aspects are accounted for in the game system as well. So when you can take a template, or if you go and you design your own custom ship, which they also make allowances for, that ship can be just as important or as impactful as any of the named ships.
Excelsior for life.
Excelsior class. Big fans of that one. The updated Ambassador class.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I still like the old Reliant that Khan had.
Yeah, the Miranda class cruisers, light cruisers.
Yeah, it was just a tough little ship.
And I mean, we see that because the Federation doesn't get rid of it; they just refit it to death, and it fights the Dominion.
Yeah, but
it fights the Dominion.
Right. Yeah, but the Excelsior was designed in like 1820, and it went and fought the Borg.
They're like, we don't know what warp drive is, but this will have it.
Yeah. And the Excelsior was their first battleship designed and built to be a battleship.
Yeah, everything that they'd learned from their continuing conflicts with the Klingons.
Yeah.
Fought the Borg, fought the Dominion.
Yeah, and the emerging threats.
They've been ships of exploration and science and diplomacy. And then they finally figured out that we need to make a battleship. We keep getting our butt kicked everywhere we go.
Right, and they would be on the frontier of diplomacy.
Hey,
and
look at this alien life I just discovered, and then it shoots me.
Yeah. And then you get to the Galaxy class, and that thing was crazy.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, when you see its combat capabilities, you're like, if they just would flip all the switches, it's. And then my favorite is Geordie LaForge, when he becomes a captain, is in charge of a Galaxy class.
Yeah,
and you can know that
tuned, man.
Yeah, his was tuned up. It's like
got like 4 turbos on the warp core.
Yeah, you can imagine that it was probably hell to be his chief engineer. He's like, no, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
I need 17 millicochrans more out of this.
It's going to take me 15 hours, really? Because it would only take me 4. Get to it.
But at the same time, like, that ship's got no holes in it. It's so good. And that's the fun part, too. Like, fighting dragons, being powerful mages and all that's a lot of fun. But we talked about this a little bit earlier. In the year, as we're going through this, not everybody connects with that historical fantasy. So that's where I like Star Wars in particular. I like the sci-fi. Cyberpunk is pretty cool about that. Some of the storytelling can be a little grittier in these systems, and then some of the storytelling can be a little bit more lighthearted, like My Little Pony.
Yeah, we came back to Fallout was another sci-fi futuristic.
It was a post-apocalyptic
end of the world.
It also uses Modiphius's 2D20 system, so it's got a lot of flexibility in the way that those characters make their way through the wasteland.
I like all the pop culture stuff that's in it.
Yeah, because it was that 1950s neo-futurism apocalypse.
Yeah.
so like
it's just all that side stuff I just find entertaining. The game system, everything. I tend not to go for the dark stuff just because that's not where I find my enjoyment.
Right.
But I love the system. I love the art, the storytelling, how they get from one point to another, and it's all really. I mean, when we had it, I was like, "Oh, let's play with this some."
There's a lot of systems that are out there. Like I said, we didn't get a chance to cover. So head to this little publisher's website, see what they've got, see what maybe piques your curiosity. Troy, I'd have you talking on this one a little bit. It's not about necessarily jumping ship. It's about finding inspiration.
Okay.
Right? So when I go and I want to play D&D, but I purchase this other game system, it's not because I'm trying to go and play that necessarily, but I can find inspiration over there.
Oh, absolutely. You can find everything from a magic item, a skill that their fighter has in that game system, a weapon type of clothing, magic item, the way they do money, way they do treasure, the way they talk about monsters or heroes winning the day. There's a lot of story ideas you can get from different game systems as well, or from different books. I would suggest that if you're a D&D DM, read anything. It doesn't matter what it is. You'll find inspiration for a story that you can pull out of the book. You find one paragraph and it talks about, this dragon hunter. He's sitting in a tavern. Well, the hell, there's a whole quest built around this guy. That's all it takes is just a little sliver of inspiration, and it can be found anywhere, in a video game, in Saturday morning cartoons. You and your friends are cutting it up and making jokes at each other, sitting around playing Magic the Gathering. I mean, anything. Just an idea, like, oh, I can make a game out of that. And just find something and go with it.
Yeah. So, Troy, one of the things that you did, we've mentioned before, that was wildly successful, when you pull from other fantasy systems. So GURPS has a fantasy system, and you were able to find spells, magic items, descriptions of how their magic system worked, right? Because we understand sort of mana and the ebb and flow of these sorts of things. But even the descriptions of magic and how it works, when we get into diving deeper through the realms of Dungeons and Dragons, into Planescape, get into the cosmological understanding of good and evil. Well, that doesn't exist. But law and chaos are the forces that bind or can rip the universe.
Yeah, and nothing will tear a player's head apart when he sees a lawful evil anti-paladin, and a lawful good paladin, on the plane of Excelsior, standing on the same side of the battlefield, shoulder to shoulder.
With a wizard that's casting some spell they've never heard of or seen because it's borrowed from some other book.
Right, and so what I did, because they were in Planescape and had to take the heroes from the home they were used to and throw them out into the multiverse, it didn't make a lot of sense to me that people out there are going to have the exact same spells that they have here. So I went looking for inspiration, and what I found with GURPS had already done all the work for me. And because they have a fantasy system with magic and items and spells and everything. So when they were out there in the multiverse trying to be heroes and save the day, they would get hit by some spell that they'd never seen or heard of before. Of course you would. If you're out there fighting Klingons, they're using weapons and armor you've never heard of before.
Right.
Wait a minute, my +2 stick says you can't do that. No.
He just shot that guy and he disappeared.
Yeah.
So is that a teleport wand? Like, what does he do?
So you have to find inspiration to make the stories happen. But I always like to use the word justification. You have to be able to justify why this happens, why that person's here, how that magic item can work, why did this happen, how did that happen. And when you're putting your story together, just use justifications and not just because I said so.
Right.
Because, your kids don't like to hear that when they're getting mad at you and throwing food across the floor. Don't do that. Why? Because I said so. Yeah. Well, that one over there, he used to do that a lot. But then he would eat it, so.
Yeah, still do. 5-second rule doesn't. 5-second rule still applies even if I throw it at
you.
You
were young enough to not know what 5 seconds meant.
Time is relative anyway.
It was still Jell-O.
It was still.
But when you're putting stuff together, keep in mind using the word justification. How am I going to justify that this spell effect or this magic item or this bad guy can do this? How do they do that? Why do they know how to do it? And just all of it. And if you use that word and answer all those questions, your background will just build. And when you build that background and you just write it down real quick, there's your whole story. Now you're ready to go play.
You don't even need the specific items and actual stats and stuff from a different system. For example, I'm still going to be using the D&D stuff, but I took inspiration for a bad guy from a cartoon, right? Avatar. So what if you have vampires that are able to feed on an elemental? What would that actually do to them? What kind of effects could they have because of it?
Vampires?
Yeah, so I turned them into rock-bending vampires, basically. Like earthbenders, like from Avatar. They've been feeding on an earth elemental.
To be fair, you've just been basically doing weird stuff to your friends.
This is fun, yes.
So, it's all fair.
An elemental vampire.
Yeah.
That would be a specialized monster.
Yeah.
That would have to be like an elemental itself that somehow contracted vampirism.
Well, no, so it'd be the elemental, so kind of like the ancient Titans kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
A lot of them had elemental properties about them, but they weren't true elementals.
Right.
So if you could get a vampire that could basically Gulliver's Travels that guy and then turn him into a bar tap source.
So the vampires are getting some of the magic or that sort of stuff when they feed on these things.
Yeah, they're gonna.
And so it's like being temporarily empowered.
Yeah.
You're an earth elemental. You have power over earth. I eat you. Now I have some of your ability for a temporary period of time. It's
right,
kind of
because a vampire, when it eats the blood, it gets life force.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you could maintain the description of what it's living off of, I'd say it gets really crazy if you get into quasi elementals like lightning.
Yeah, I don't know how you would feed on that, or like or like true elementals. Like I'm an elemental from the plane of fire. Well, you're just sentient fire. How do you?
Right, it can't bite you. Right.
It bites you. An elemental of earth being fed upon. I don't know what energy.
By a clan of vampires, yeah.
What energy would they get?
Rock bending abilities, because there's a sorcerer subsect of elemental stuff.
But that would take some debate. Again, if you use the word justification to explain how all that works, and it'll build your whole background for you.
So yeah, you can come up with a crazy idea based off of a cartoon show and make it work in the rules of the game system.
Yes, you can.
The whole point of this crazy conversation, though, is that Through the Multiverse series is meant to show game systems you may not have been familiar with, encourage you to check them out and explore them deeper on your own, since our videos were only meant to provide an overview.
Brought to you today by the letter M and the number 20.
Yes, number 20, natural 20.
Essence 20.
There we go.
Let's do the multiverse. I thought it'd be 42.
No.
That's the answer to life, the universe, and everything.
Yeah, we couldn't get that sponsorship. So, so whether you make those your primary game, or you simply find enjoyment from adding to your collection or getting inspiration, take a chance to branch out a little bit. There's a lot that you can glean. One of the things that I like to do is I'll find mechanics in similar game systems, so I don't have to create my own.
Oh, sure.
So, Star Wars Saga Edition, for example, has a condition track system that's really good about, as you take damage, wears you out, or that sort of thing. It's got more subtlety to it without adding too much complexity beyond simply taking a stack of exhaustion in 5th edition, or a death save, or these sorts of things end up being. They felt like they hit flat, and it's one of those things I've seen a lot of people try to come up with ways to expand on it if they want to have a more survival focused game or something. You don't necessarily need to rack your brain so hard. Just find a similar system like Pathfinder or the Saga Edition or 3rd edition D&D, even go back some, and then see what they did. And if there was something that you can use and modify, you'll be able to get some inspiration from that and enhance your game as well. So take a look at it. There's a lot out there. It's a fun hobby. There's some cool systems, and you may find something that enhances your game ultimately.
Hey, you want to talk about the future?
I didn't bring my crystal ball.
Well, not that far in the future. Just next year.
Let's talk a little bit more about what we had fun with this year.
Okay.
And then we'll transition there, because this year, our big convention was Tremendicon.
It was, and it was tremendous.
It was awesome, yes.
Yes.
So we actually brought gaming into the the vendor's room,
The
which
vendor
is
room.
awesome.
We just, one of our tables we had at the vendor room, we just played on it all weekend.
I had a table all weekend.
Yeah.
And we had a game on it pretty much all day, every day.
And so
we had kids that had never played before, parents that never played before, and everybody had a ball chasing after goblin cheese.
The recipe for goblin
yes,
cheese.
the recipe. That is the Mr. Producer original there. That's fun.
Yeah.
But we also got a chance to run Joe's Labyrinth Challenge.
Yep.
A full table there, which was great.
And Joe was hilarious the whole time.
Oh my gosh.
It was great. I got the biggest kick out of the fact that we had 2 people from Nixa come to the convention just to play Joe's game.
Yeah.
Nice.
And they both had a ball. The one played the bard and to a new height that I never would have expected. But rule number 2, players never do what you expect them to do. And everybody had a fun time though. And that's the whole purpose of playing.
For sure. We also got a chance to go to Massey's Comics convention.
Yes.
So those were the 2 that we hit this year. We're looking to expand as we come up, but Tremendicon in particular is going to be, I think, really cool as we look forward to this next year. Expansion into the game room. We're going to have more gaming.
Yep.
Bigger gaming. We've got our tables bought already, so we're going to be there in the vendor area as well. So we're going to and check it out. We can talk about D&D.
We're sponsoring a table for Witches and
Witches and Watchtowers is coming with this. 417 Game Sidekicks.
Yep.
Not for profit charity that supports accessibility in gaming. We got a lot of stuff that's going to be going on there. And then of course Tremendicon itself is a not for profit charity supporting this year again Ozark's Food Harvest. So when you come to the con, when you have a lot of fun, all of that goes to help a local charity. Ozark's Food Harvest provides food support for 28 Ozark counties. And that's southern and southwest Missouri, helping people that need some food assistance. And so not only do we get to go to a con, we get to go to a con with a cause. And it's not just some money company out there selling me something that, it's really
how much did Tremendicon write a check for last year? Was it $10K or was it more?
I think it was.
I think it was $10K.
Yeah, and then so that's Ozark's Food Harvest is their primary charity. They actually supported 3 separate charities last year and held a writing competition. So that's a memorial writing competition, I think, with a grant. Their game design competition that happens every year. They had 2 people get offers from game design companies for the board game that they developed at the con. So there's a lot going on there, and that's not to mention like the workshops and the Maker's Path, and I mean it's a good time.
I really like Tremendicon because to me Tremendicon feels a lot like how VisionCon used to. Like when I was a kid, there was like games in the main tables, and there's like all kinds of different things to do all day. It's not just a shopping event.
Right, and which we've seen a lot of other conventions come through the area. They don't last because that's what they are.
Yeah.
You spend a lot of money, you wait in line to go and spend a lot more money.
Yeah.
And they don't really offer anything, and that's not what Tremendicon is. They're focused primarily on creators. So it's a great place to collaborate, to meet other people in particular industries, get feedback. If you wanted to break into voice acting, if you needed to get some advice on a Kickstarter or self-funding, some things like that. Publication, we actually went and did a few writers' workshops for self-publication before we started kicking off some of our projects. There's a lot to be had at Tremendicon. Ticket sales are available now, so if you're going to be in the area, it's the end of May, so May 31st to June 2nd. Check out Tremendicon.com. That is something that we are definitely looking forward to. We're always spending too much money to be able to go there, buying a lot of tables and stuff. But
so we got a watcher. He asked a question: how many pages are too many for a first full game guide?
Here.
So is that? I need to ask you: are you talking about like a module, the adventure, the book that has a story in it that your players are going to go through, or what exactly? I'm not understanding that description. And then we got the electric goat.
Yep, he's looking for things that are tabletop RPGs that are not D&D, which is 100% the things that we were talking about this year.
Well, so we were showing these books off here earlier, Eclectic Goat. Troy, come on, bring We got a whole bunch of stuff here. Yeah, let's
One
bring
of
up some
my-
BattleTech.
Well,
We'll talk
one of my
about
favorites that you have
BattleTech.
is that Rune and Steel over there. That's a really cool system.
Yeah, Rune and Steel. That's done by some local authors. That put. I mean, it's a whole dang box. It's
Here,
awesome.
Let me switch over to the Mac
You got
cam.
Mouse Ritter up behind you. We've got
There we go. Now we can see that a little bit better.
Obviously, we've got way too much D&D.
What?
I didn't bring. Last night I ran a World of Darkness game.
Bonk.
Oh, bonked. Cyberpunk is
Power Rangers.
Power Ranger. I didn't bring any of my other books.
I really want to play that. After I made my Power Ranger, I was like, this system is actually starting to look pretty cool. I really want to play it.
Yeah. You go, it's Morphin time.
Well, like, because you make your character, and then you make your Power Ranger. So, like, you can be one or the other, and, like, you have your whole morphing abilities and the different stat changes and all that. It's really cool.
So, if you got any questions about some of the other stuff, Eclectic Goat, definitely. No one plays anymore. Oh, come on.
They do around here, yeah.
Yeah, so since 2010, Catalyst Games has been publishing BattleTech. They've got 4 or 5 new boxes, a couple of hardcover books. So this is here, Total Warfare is their system book.
That's the new one.
They've got blind box minis. There's a ton of stuff. Check out Catalyst Games. They're currently printing BattleTech and
then for some light reading, I recommend the Necronomicon.
Yep, that's a good one of those. Read by candlelight in Latin.
Yeah.
Out loud, of course.
Oh, yes.
Out loud in the
basement. Yes. So, yeah, we did a show this year on GURPS. This is a 3rd edition book here.
GURPS is really cool because there was a table in the very beginning of the book that says, what time period do you want to play in? And then it has everything from, like, Stone Age all the way up to Space Age Star Wars
Super
stuff.
science.
It's really, really cool.
Yeah, and for those of you guys that are not familiar with our channel, the disembodied voice of Mr. Producer is with us as well. I am Jester Borris, and this is Troy.
Troy, the Planescape Guy.
Planescape Guy. Here we go. So, our Through the Multiverse series this year was a lot of fun. And so if you haven't seen these game systems or you haven't seen what their latest iterations are, definitely check out our series. It's live now on the YouTube channel. And it'll give you a good overview. If you haven't seen these systems, you get kind of a good idea of what they're about, and then you can explore them a little deeper from there.
And I highly recommend it. Of course, now, in my humble opinion, D&D is, the best TTRPG.
Yeah.
But I also recommend finding something else because just playing the same game type over and over can become monotonous, repetitive.
What makes your creativity stale?
Monotonous and repetitive.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get into something else, it can help fire up in the back of your brain some of those creative juices to you can use something from BattleTech to help your D&D game or something from GURPS to help you with your BattleTech game.
It's my stuff.
It's just and you always find somebody that they like to play BattleTech or they like to play Savage Worlds, and then you're like, I never played that before, let me try it.
Or something
and you try it and you like it.
Something I remember that you did a long time ago when we were playing BattleTech is you actually took some Star Wars rules into account for whenever you were outside of the mech and you were trying to fight armored vehicles. Because in Star Wars, there's a rule set for a guy in a regular powered suit trying to blow up a mech, right? So ATST or stuff like that. And there's the rules that you can actually use for that. So
the old D6 stuff had it.
Yeah.
But I want to go back here real quick and address David Nelson's question. How many pages are too many for a first full game guide? So it's not about the pages. Don't kill yourself on page count. Be thorough without beating the topic to death. Some of the quick start guides for Vampire are 40 pages or so. You're like, well, that's almost a whole book by itself.
Yeah.
Well, when the book itself is 3 inches thick for Vampire the Masquerade, the 40 pages is totally appreciated because it gives you the essence of the system in a way that's accessible. So you just have to, when you're distilling something down, hit the highlights.
But I understand what they're talking about because it's a full 1.5 inches thick, so that tends to be a little overwhelming when you see it.
So if you were going to write a game guide for this system, it would probably be around that 30 to 40 pages.
Oh, this is a couple hundred.
No, I know, but if you were to write a guide, here's an introduction, here's kind of the highlights of the system and the things you need to know to make a character and what to run a combat to outside of combat, some of your basics.
Yeah. If you're looking, Yeah, that's. Yeah, a couple hundred pages would be a little much for that. If you're at a couple hundred pages, you're writing a game system. You're not making a summary of one.
For sure. So David tells us that he is a full-time truck driver and he's trying to self-publish. There's a lot of great resources for self-publication. If you go through different print-on-demand services too, you don't have to have somebody's garage full of your books. So you can get everything done, put it up in a PDF format, and then as those books are published or purchased, they're printed and then shipped to the purchaser.
There are
Amazon has a print-on-demand, but there's several other ones too.
Amazon Kindle has a print-on-demand service, and they will work with you to some point. I've seen people that are a company that do that service, like you sell them your book, and they're the mediator, and then they get it self-published somewhere.
Yeah, so when they sell it for $30, you get $10 and whatever it is. But there's some things like that, David. If you haven't looked at, check out the publish on demand platforms that are available to you. It can save you a lot of headache once you get your material put together. Were you working on D&D specifically, or were you did you have something else in mind? I'd be glad to try to help out.
Oh, right as a need.
Which is good advice. And so, again, if it's a rules summary and you're summarizing a system, I would expect you're going to be on the smaller side. But if to Troy's point, if you're writing a game, then you're going to need to write until you've fleshed out all the mechanics that you want to flesh out in a way that makes sense.
So, question for you. If you're a full-time truck driver, how are you typing this out? Are you using some type of dictation tool where you speak and it types it?
Well, don't forget they've got the 30-hour mandated rest, so periodically he is forced to stop. And he can only drive for so many hours a day. So he's got downtime. It's not like he's plugged in like a machine or robot.
Yeah, and he's going to be out there somewhere, not home.
Yeah, he's not Barkley.
Yeah, he's not the Tesla truck. But yeah, the gentleman have plenty of time, downtime and things like that, laptops. Those trucks are really well set up.
590 pages. Wow,
that's all right.
So that's a system. That's not a summary.
Well, yeah. So it's his own system. So if that's what it takes, Troy, how many pages are in that book there?
I don't know.
Just flip to the back.
I'm getting there.
Flip it.
411.
So it's definitely a thick book, but if that's what it takes to describe your world setting, your character options, your equipment options, and all that sort of stuff,
I would suggest
it's going to be.
For ease on your players, you may want to consider breaking it into 2 or 3 or 4 books. One is focused on player characters, one focused on the world setting, one focused on magic and treasure, something like that. Kind of break it up. Then you're not trying to publish a 500-page book. Now you're publishing something. And speaking from a player's side, this is very unruly at the table because every player needs to have one of these, and everybody's flipping back and forth in it through the 500 pages trying to find something. But if I have just a small 30, 40, 50 page book that everything for my player character, my skills, my armor, my weapons, my spells, all of that is in one book. And then the DM has another book that has the monsters and the world settings and the description of the territories and all that. You may consider that. I don't know how it would work for you. It's just something to consider.
So as an example, the new DMG, 384 pages.
Yeah.
The new player's handbook.
It looks about the same.
384 pages. So, together they've got nearly 800 pages of material.
Yeah, that's way too much
for the game system, but it's focused, right? So here's all my player options and everything I need.
Well, plus on top of that would be the monster manual.
That's some separate, but then this is everything that I need that describes some of the systemic stuff and things that I need to tell my stories. So again, we don't have the full information. I'm sorry if we're telling you things that you already know, David. But
let's talk about numbers and color tabs for different sections in the book.
Yeah, that was one of the best things about the Star Wars Saga edition is they color tabbed their sections, and it was so easy to use.
Yeah, that's definitely
because you could just look at the freaking side and you go, oh yeah, the orange section for combat. All right, there we go.
Right.
Do that, please.
Yes. We give that 4 thumbs up.
Yeah, here we go.
Because that's a heck of an idea, and if if you keep to the one physical book and you do that, that will help your players a lot, and your DM, whoever's running, to find stuff quickly in the book.
So again, it's and it could depend too, like how you format your book. If you've got lots of space for art and things of that nature, you may have more pages. If you condense it or do double column or things like that, you may have less pages. Again, it's not so much about your page count. It's about, do you have everything you need in there? Is your system streamlined? And finally, is it in a usable format? Those are, I think, your three things. If you can work on those primarily.
You need a book for your game master. It needs to have everything in it he needs, from monsters and encounters set up, territory descriptions, NPCs, and how to run a combat encounter. You also need everything that a player's going to need, how to develop whatever race they have and whatever character classes, and their skills and their weapons and their clothing, or down to their boots, the whole 9 yards. I also will offer this to you. If you get this built and you want somebody to look through it and play test it, we would love to do that.
We've got a Discord. The link is here on the YouTube channel. We've got it's nearly 90 different game masters that specialize in different systems that collaborate on different projects and offer advice and things like that. No one's there to take anything from you, but if you need an outlet for somebody who's not just D&D, but some game masters who've done game development and design, you might consider joining our Discord. We'd be glad to have you, and we could offer some advice as you work through developing this.
It says basically game master and players books combined.
Yeah.
It would be a series of 12 books.
That's all right.
So is it like one book per topic?
It sounds like it's a little bit more complex than what we've got going on here in the show. Yeah. But again, I'd invite you to join our Discord, and we'd be glad to work through that with you. Every Thursday night on the Discord is our Hangouts and Game Prep nights at 7 p.m. Central. So we hop into the voice channels and we write up our games, help each other with our different projects that we got going on. So I think, for now, that's going to be where we'll have to leave it. But I think you've got quite a lot that's going there. And if we can take a look at it, we'd be glad to help.
Yeah, it sounds like he's got a hell of a start.
Yeah.
Oh, and I can't type either, by the way. So
he's all giant thumbs on a tiny screen.
Giant thumbs on a tiny screen.
And no glasses.
And no glasses at the moment. Thanks, Mr. Producer.
Yeah, for sure. Some of the other things, too, I'll mention here, getting us back on topic, we go to conventions. Particularly when the Springfield area, we're looking at a creators convention called Tremendicon, where we've been able to collaborate with people across different genres, different industries, writing, game design, and that sort of stuff. And
David, if you're in the Springfield, Missouri area at the end of May, the last week in May, first week in June, 30 May, 1 June, that's Tremendicon. I would highly recommend you go, because there will be somebody there that can help you in your endeavor to bring your game to print.
One of the whole things that they've got a writer's track, and they do self-publication advice, and then they've got a game design track. Where last year, actually, we got to get blown up by Mr. Ross, one of the original designers for BattleTech.
Yeah, that
was fun. So 8 of us in Locusts, 20-ton mechs.
Yeah.
Mr. Ross in or no, it wasn't even an Atlas. It was 100-ton something, because you got Gauss rifled.
Yeah.
You spent the whole game running across the board.
I spent the whole game running across the board just to get blown up. Yep.
But there's cool things like that. And even if it's not the convention that we're talking about in our local area, keep an eye out for conventions. When you do have that downtime, you'll be able to talk with people who are involved in the industry, get some feedback, whether it's from the publication side or the game development side. You may be able to find a publisher who would be interested in picking up your project. So there's a lot of things that you can get when you go to conventions beyond signatures of celebrities and things like that.
Absolutely. And if we happen to not hear from you again, I do wish you good luck in this endeavor.
Truck parking, some of them do.
It's not a small,
David.
Because I was thinking, I don't know if the convention center itself would have truck parking, but where it's located, you could definitely get a truck in there.
Well, for this particular venue, we're not too far from some truck parking. This hotel that we're going to be at
it's right off the highway.
Is right off the highway. And you'll find that often, convention centers or hotels are where we're going to find conventions.
So they have a
So
big parking lot in the back.
I think they
Probably put a
do.
truck back there.
I mean, there's definitely more than enough room. It's whether or not they actually allow it. I couldn't tell you.
here's for this particular venue, you could park next to it at the other hotel and then walk over. It's a block
Yeah.
away.
Yeah, it's not even a block away.
Right there at the Steak and Shake, baby. I love that. But,
Priorities.
yeah, you gotta have them. So a question here for Eclectic Goat: is there a system outside of D&D that you're playing or interested in? Maybe it's one we've covered. We can talk a little bit more about it. And
I'm gonna keep going back to GURPS.
It's so good.
That's one of the things we've seen. GURPS had a lot of popularity, but Savage Worlds made a huge splash.
Savage Worlds, I like. I need to do more with it. But, I
Yeah.
just haven't done enough with it.
For the fantasy fans, one of the things that was interesting to find out, and I didn't know this before our episode, Pathfinder for Savage Worlds.
Yes.
So if you like that world setting and you like the fantasy and you didn't want to get into the giant books that are Pathfinder, they had Pathfinder for Savage Worlds, which was pretty cool.
Yep.
Savage Worlds back here. Game of Armored Comics. So, Savage Worlds, of course, is a setting agnostic system, so it's basically just the skeleton, and then you can put whatever you want on top of it. The original was Deadlands, which is a Weird West thing, so you got like zombies and cowboys, aliens,
zombies and cowboys.
Superheroes is one. There's a
Yep.
sci-fi, modern. I think the other one that was really cool, the Pathfinder one. I gotta do this one. Shout out to Quinn here. Pinnacle Entertainment Group. So if you head over to their website, and you can see all the add-ons for different settings and things. The other thing that's crazy about Savage Worlds is that you can combine them. So you can do superheroes and Deadlands, and then you can have superheroes fighting zombies in the Wild West. That one was probably one of the most interesting aspects of Savage Worlds, and it's not impossible with GURPS either, but I think GURPS was always meant to be, the system with one overlay, and not necessarily a whole lot of mixing.
She says she's. I run 3 different games right now. Go ahead, rub it in.
RP heavy games. So if you haven't played the storyteller system from Vampire the Masquerade, you're missing out. And particularly for something that's RP heavy. Mr. Producer and I are developing a game now that's kind of interesting, where you've got vampires, and in the vampire realm, there's 2 major sects of vampires. One that uphold the masquerade, others that embrace their monstrous nature. They'd be more like the vampires you see in Blade.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the one vampires manipulating the FBI, right? Because they're always doing human trafficking and pharmaceuticals and all these other like major crime stuff. But you got one group of vampires manipulating the FBI to go and take out the other group of vampires, and so you get a hunter game mixed with vampire. But it'll all be very investigation. The storyteller system actually has 2 kinds of combat. They have a social combat system and a physical or a regular confrontational system. And so you have your health and you have your willpower. There's subterfuge. There's lies within lies. It is really well put together. If you haven't had a chance to play that, I'd try to find some games, join it as a player, and get a taste for it. The system is really good, and it's one of those that if you enter combat, like physical combat, confrontation, somebody's going to get hurt real bad.
Yeah, it is always the last thing you want to do because it is deadly.
Yeah, Vampire is about 80% role playing because you're BSing one person or another the whole time.
Right, and
it's the setting though. If you really don't want to have that darkest setting, the vampires, werewolves, other monsters, things that go bump in the night, then it may not be for you. But if you like that kind of stuff, I highly recommend it because it is definitely a fun environment.
The other RP heavy system we covered this year would be Star Trek Adventures.
Star Trek was very role playing heavy.
Yeah, and even the 2D20 system is more of a narrative instead of a mechanical dice system.
It's like you failed, but not quite.
Right, and then it also encourages cooperation.
Yeah, I could take your dice and add it to mine, and we could do something together.
Right. So if you and I are collaborating on an engineering problem, there we were able to combine our specialties.
Yeah.
Well, in
like
Star
that.
Trek, everybody has to be hitting buttons all the time. So if you have a second person also hitting buttons,
yeah. No, that would be a great RP heavy. Star Trek is well established also, so it's not one of those things you've got to invent off the cuff. But it's also got a ton of room for any number of stories. From the simple, the moon is falling out of orbit, simple, to the exploration and discovery of new life or establishment of colonies, all the problems that go with that. And then even trying to get out of the mandatory 10 forward violin recitals.
Yeah.
Oh my God, why? It's the future. Which was great in the Kelvin timeline stuff.
Yeah.
Where they're playing Beastie Boys at that final scene, and Bones comes on. He's like, "Is he playing classical music?" Kirk's doing stuff. He's playing classical music. It's the Beastie Boys. That was funny, and I would go and I'd go to more 10 forward recitals that were the Beastie Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how did Bach and Beethoven survive World War III?
Right.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of fun in that sort of stuff too.
I kind of think that would be something that Barkley would be playing.
But, like in one of the season 1 or 2, somebody comes in to talk to Data, and he's got like 5 pieces of classical music all arranged, and they're all playing over each other way too loud. You're just like, man.
While he's doing other things.
Yeah, but that was Data, so we did there. At least the older editions, any indie or smaller companies, my New Year's resolution is going to be pushed to more indie authors. If you want some smaller or less known games, Mouse Ritter is very cool. It's you play as mice. Your scale and problems are kind of a little different.
The character sheets are very. And I haven't opened this one yet because I was going to use it as a prize at a drawing we did, but it didn't. It got overlooked for whatever reason. So it's still in the. And I want to leave it in the wrapper because it's going to be a prize.
We will end up raffling it.
But yeah, the cards for your character sheet are very simplistic.
Yeah, they're very.
And you can only carry so many items on you. And each item takes up 1 or 2 slots, so you can only carry certain things. But I watched a group of people play this for several hours, and they had more crazy fun running across a kitchen floor trying to stay alive because a farmer's cat was after him, and then the rats were after him, and then some bird was after him, and it was like there's no armor, no magic swords, no spells. What are you doing again?
Yeah.
And once you got into it, it's like this. It really pulls you into the setting. It really does.
For a good reference of it, it's like playing one of the mouse characters from the animated film The Secret of Nim.
Yes, it's very much like that.
Or Fievel Goes West. Any of that sort of stuff is kind of what you get into.
The Secret of Nim definitely really,
Great movie.
Yes.
But Mouse Ritter is very neat. And then I'd also look at Mork Borg and they have some Mork Borg, Pirate Borg, and Cyborg are systems that you don't see a lot of.
Hey Troy, hold up that one to your cam.
I'm trying to
Mouse Ritter.
I'm trying to spell it right.
MAUS. It's German.
Hush.
Schnell. Mouse Ritter.
Can I do a picture on this thing?
Not
on the chat.
No,
not on the chat. Anyway,
Give me
so it's a little pricey. That box set right there is the entire game. It's $55. That's a little pricey for some things, but it has the entire everything you need to play in there for several people. Adventures, character descriptions, and everything.
This one is from the smaller studio Losing Games. Let's see, 4th printing, 7,000. So, I don't remember exactly when this came in, but that's pretty recent.
Less than 2 years.
It's copyright on there is 2023, but it's the game I think was launched in 18, 19, something like that.
Yeah, it's been around a little while, but it's less than 5 years old. Let's see what else do we have.
But the Mork Borg and Cyborg are really neat systems that get you into some different kind of role play, and they're a lot of fun too.
Yeah.
And then the Call of Cthulhu games that we covered, those are always very roleplay heavy. And you can also do a pulp Call of Cthulhu. So if you want more of your Hellboy style, U.S. Army Rangers versus demons and Nazis. The early era of Captain America comic books. Go for Cthulhu Pulp. If you want more of that narrative investigation, cult, and the 1920s is its setting, regular Call of Cthulhu would be a great pick for that one.
Help me out with this abbreviation. She says she loved the book for TSON.
Star Trek.
Star Trek Online, maybe?
I don't know. TSO not online.
Just code name for.
Yeah, so David joined our Discord. Thank you very much, David. We will get
Moons,
you. Yeah.
Moons of Netzeria.
Yep. We'll touch base with you on there a little bit later.
Yeah.
So thank you, and I look forward to giving you a hand on your project.
Yeah, we're on there every Thursday.
Well, we're on there all the time, but we have an event every Thursday. And then. Yeah, you have to help me out there, Eclectic Goat. I'm not recognizing that
TSON.
The abbreviation that you use. Sorry.
Oh, the Secret of Nim.
Oh, Secret of Nim. All right, there we go.
Oh.
Because you abbreviated that, and my brain is going through the Rolodex of tabletop games.
Yeah, I'm
I don't know what that is.
So yeah, that's where I was at too. I was like, which tabletop game is that?
I love.
Sorry for that.
I love that because, experimentation on the rats and the mice, they got them smarter. But the old wise rat, he was like a Jedi because he was levitating shit around.
Yeah.
and moving stuff all by himself. So yeah, he was like Jedi.
I don't believe it. That's why you failed.
Yeah. Yep. So let's talk a little bit about what we've got going on. Obviously, we're going to do lots more live events, and we're looking forward to the conventions we'll be participating in. But we always have a theme for our years when we do our once a month live stream. So that's the third Sunday of the month at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, just like this. And then those episodes are, of course, they're done live, so you can interact as we are now. And then they stay on the YouTube channel, so you can go back and watch the old episodes. So this coming year, we're going to go through, and we're dealing with threats and allies through the Expanse.
It's like everybody. All good guys, all bad guys. It's like a bigger fight than Marvel heroes did.
A little bit. Dealing particularly with, how do you build an ally to help your party from an NPC perspective? What makes a good bad guy? How do we structure them within our stories to, maybe you have a more subtle behind the scenes bad guy that's pulling the strings, or you've got somebody who's in your face, that big, the very obvious lich standing behind the army of skeletons kind of bad guy. We'll talk a little bit about some of the cultures that we see in the reoccurring bad guys, goblins, orcs, and those sorts of things. So we've got a full 10 episode series for you coming up next year, starting in March. All of those dates are posted on the Discord. I'm going to get those preset for YouTube as well, so you'll be able to tune in and check out those episodes, participate in the conversations as we try to be helpful with game masters as they put together allies and threats from a myriad of different sources and settings, and as we do to develop everybody's games and have more fun.
So there's a lot of things that are common to the good guys and a lot of things that are common to the bad guys. And we're going to address a lot of those characteristics. So when you're wanting a bad guy, and then talk about how your world setting and game system will dictate that your good guy must have these things and your bad guy must have these things.
Yeah, it's one of the things that we've come across as we've ran our workshops. People who are entering the hobby, or maybe they're taking the seat behind the screen for the first time, but they're fairly fresh because no one else will run the game. There's some of these skills that aren't necessarily apparent, or not everybody does well with storytelling. If you don't want to run some of the books that are out there at $60 a piece to go and get killed by Strahd over and over again, as an example, writing your own story is very rewarding. So we're just going to talk a little bit about if you're more true to your setting versus if you're more loose with your setting, what your bad guys might look like, what your heroes might look like, and how to make these believable within the setting, so that you don't break that suspension of disbelief and you can tell the stories that you're after.
It's all about storytelling.
Yeah.
don't forget what Zangief said. Just because you're bad guy doesn't necessarily mean you're a bad guy.
Poor Zangief.
Oh my gosh.
But that's what we're looking at, and you know, we hope to be able to contribute, because so far in our series, what we've done is we've gone through the history of Dungeons and Dragons, so through the ages. Then we've gone through and we've detailed or highlighted some of the world settings that are available for Dungeons and Dragons, so that you don't have to write it from scratch. You can explore these rich and realized world settings. So that was through the realms. Now we've gone this year. Finally, we're back from going through the multiverse, exploring different game systems and settings that are within those systems. If you're not necessarily wanting to stick with just Dungeons and Dragons, which I don't blame you. I'm a big sci-fi fan. I ran World of Darkness last night. I love Cyberpunk and I love Star Wars. Those are what I run a lot.
Star Wars is a lot of fun.
Oh my god, it's shenanigans. It's space shenanigans.
It's space shenanigans and shooting stormtroopers.
Yeah,
what's not to love?
Shooting stormtroopers or whacking them with light sticks.
I enjoyed blowing up Star Destroyer warp cores and stuff like that.
Yeah, you're a terrorist.
Yeah,
he is a terrorist.
But as we go through and we're looking at this through the expanse, as we expand into these different areas of storytelling, these different things that are going to find commonality regardless of the system or setting. We hope to bring some information that's going to help people write stronger games and have more fun. And that's really what it comes down to. Because just as an example, let's talk a little bit about orcs, right?
I love orcs.
For sure. But we saw in the white box of D&D, they actually have several paragraphs regarding orc culture. Well, what's important to them as a people, why we come into conflict with them,
how their villages are made, how their family structure is, their war band structure.
Yeah, why they go and
in the little book they're over there behind you.
Yep.
There it has almost 2 full pages on orc culture. Now, contrast that with 5 lines of what a dwarf is.
Yeah, now, and particularly when that was a player character option, you're like, dwarf, man.
Yeah, dwarf. 5 lines.
Now when you go and you get the modern monster manual, we'll get some information. I think Morton Canaan's Monsters Through the Multiverse had an elaboration.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll look at all of that and see, what information can we find? How can we make, set these bad guys into our settings and make them a part of the world, so that we're not just fighting something. Our conflicts are the story. And why are we in conflict with these people? How does that add texture to our settings? It's the same thing if we were talking about Essence 20, right? Who is Cobra Commander? What is Cobra? Why are the G.I. Joes? And
right,
that's all goofy, campy stuff, but they have all those reasons and things established within their lore and setting that make sense, as goofy as it is.
Because there are variations of orc.
This is also true, depending on where we're looking at.
In the World of Greyhawk, they explain some of that. And it's what I like whenever we have our classes, talking about new GMs who want to design their own world or a portion of it. Look at the territory. If it's mountains or plains or desert, the people that choose to live there, the way they look, the way they worship, the way they get married, the way they make war, the way they dress, the way their town looks,
their economics,
everything is going to have a center on where they live.
And this is true when we look at Cyberpunk. The nomads that wander, their vehicles are like horses back in the day, right? They have a special place in their society. Your vehicle, how it runs, whether you upkeep it or not. And that's going to be way different than when you go downtown and you're dealing with the gangbangers that are, tagging things and what's important to them. So whether we're talking about a sci-fi future setting, or we're talking about a fantasy setting with something as familiar as orcs, or maybe as futuristic as cyber augmented gang leader, they're still going to have a lot of aspects that we'll consider that put them into that setting and make them, the antagonists that they become. So that's what we've got coming up for you next year. That's gonna be a lot of fun.
The electric goat. recommended a book that we've read. The monsters know what they're doing.
Oh yes.
Yes, it's a very good read.
I also enjoyed Magic Kingdom for Sale.
Yeah,
that was a good one.
Yeah, This Kingdom for Sale. That was a good story.
Well, and then of course there's the sequel. There's Magic Kingdom for, and then the line for sale was crossed out. And it just said sold. There's a sequel. Magic Kingdom sold.
Yeah.
So and it's a lot of fun. It's just it also gives us a chance to take a good look at some of our favorite antagonists. Right, we're always knocking orcs across the head. We're always blasting stormtroopers as an example.
We're also going to take a look at monsters. The dragon flying around the mountains by himself. Everybody wants to go kill the dragon because he's a pest. He's burning villages to the ground. He's eating all the sheep. He's eating up all the princesses. But what? I mean, he's got to have a motivation. Every intelligent creature, regardless of their race, has a motivation for what they do. Be it the orc chieftain, be it a dragon, be it the crazy wizard on top of the mountain. They all have a motivation, and that motivation will describe how they do things and not just who they are.
One of my favorite D&D books was that one that we came across that had the different religions of monstrous races.
Yeah, no, you got that one. It's one of the second edition.
Yeah, it's like so what religion do beholders belong to? Like that kind of stuff. It was really cool.
Yeah,
that's one. But the other thing about it too is when we dig a little deeper, now how can these things be allies? Or when we're looking at our traditional type allies, the king and queen, the local magistrate, and these sorts of things, their motivations, how they interact, how what their goals and methods are. So again, it's not just the antagonists and the threats, but the allies that we'll be able to find to enrich in our worlds and build our stories.
You also got your gray lines in the middle where you have the righteous people doing the good thing for the wrong reasons, or doing the bad things for the right reason, that kind of stuff.
And that varies by setting too. Yeah. How numerous are they? Like outlaws in Star Wars is a whole third of the galaxy basically. And it looks a little different when you get into the city of Greyhawk, and it's definitely a little different when you're going through World of Darkness, right? Everything is shades of gray. There is no right or wrong, and your moral decisions become very clouded. So for sure, there's a lot of that too.
So when we're going through the character development and how they affect your story and how your story can affect good guy, bad guy, and all that, one of the things I like to use as an example, because everybody knows it, or at least they should, is Star Wars. We'll talk about the bad guys and the good guys in Star Wars and how they're doing things and why they do things, as how this character is developing from one movie to the next. Is how you as a game master, when you write out your outline and you want to have these types of encounters, your players and their characters are going to change and grow from one level to the next until they get to meet your big bad guy and hopefully win the day in the end. So I like to use Star Wars as an example because everybody knows Star Wars. If you don't, I'm sad for you. Go watch Star Wars, all of it.
Well, at least 1 through 6.
Here's the other example. So Troy, we talked about this a little bit too. We can see a lot of development and things through the books, or even just the films. They've captured it pretty well. Harry Potter.
Yes.
Which is the more modern thing. The players we run into didn't have Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, kind of like we did.
And that makes me sad.
Yeah, but I know me and Dustin, for some reason, when we were 8, grew up on RoboCop. Thanks, Dad.
Yep.
RoboCop.
Second one was my favorite movie.
100% of the time. Different kinds of heroes, but it also has you'll see similar story themes, even if the structure is different. So whether it's Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Harry Potter stuff, you'll be able to find characters that you can relate to and understand these concepts and draw that inspiration.
So I'm going to give you 5 points right now. Write this down. This is my Troy's secret. 5 points to a good story.
Oh, okay, that was your chili recipe.
No. 5 points. Good guy, bad guy, fighting over a woman. Explosions and aliens are a plus. So there's going to be explosions because you're going to have fighting.
Fireball.
You got to have a good guy, bad guy, and not necessarily fighting over a woman, but they're going to be fighting over something that's of great value to be had, be a treasure or land or a spaceport, a starship,
some sort of prize, and then typical
some sort of prize,
like sword and sorcery fashion. It was the hand of a princess or something.
Right. Well, Princess Leia is the one that had the Death Star schematics.
Yeah. So okay, look at Star Wars. Who's the good guy?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like Princess Leia is the woman. She had the Death Star schematics.
Okay,
So
we got Luke Skywalker. We got Darth Vader. We got Princess Leia, and obviously there's fighting. They blew up a small planet.
That was the explosion. That
was the explosion. And there were aliens. So it's a plus.
Yeah, it's got all five.
It's got all five. So
that's it.
Whenever you make your story, if you develop those 5 points, you're going to have a good story that your players are going to have fun with.
Yeah, if you can at least get those 5 elements, then figure out how they mix within your setting. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah,
it's one of the ones that we use a lot for when we write one shots and take those as event games. Like if we can hit these 5, and we're going to be a little loose with the rules, and we're just going to go have a good time. We'll play in 4 hours, and it's a lot of good.
The one thing that the 3 of us can do on the fly, we can walk up to a table cold with players and just in the middle of talking, in the middle of setting up a game, because they're like, yeah, we want to play something. Like, oh yeah, what do we want to play tonight? And what are you going to play tonight? And they say, oh, I have this character, or I have that character. Oh, I like this guy because I can do this spell.
Or I want to steal, or whatever.
Yeah, I want to do this, I want to do that.
Or we want to fight a big monster,
Right. So you just make checklists. Okay, this. All right, get your characters out, roll initiative. And they're like, what?
Initiative? We'd have where are we? Oh, you're going to find out.
We can very quickly, off the cuff, make an adventure and have fun for the night.
That is one thing I'd say we've gotten better at over the last couple of years. Now that we've ran more games at game stores.
Yes.
So from a player's perspective, if you guys haven't taken advantage of your local game stores, just dropping into a game, particularly if you're the forever DM, like give yourself a break. Go drop into somebody else's game.
Absolutely.
Run the wildest character concept you can think of. Shout out here to Alex, a paladin with a chicken for a head that wants to get his curse removed. Turns out he was a chicken the whole time. Play that guy. Go take that to somebody else's table and be the problem.
One of my favorites is the fighter magic user gnome, and then you can cast enlarge and reduce on yourself. So I can have mounted combat bonuses in dungeons while I'm riding a mastiff.
That's also like that big.
That's like that big.
So if you're not taking advantage of these opportunities to go and just play the off the wall, or play with people you've never played before, see these different styles.
Even if it's a normal D&D game with normal characters, you're still going to have fun because the forever DM, you can get burnt out.
Yeah, there's still rule number 2.
That's happened to all of us.
Oh, yeah.
So definitely take advantage. Go to your local game store. Go in there with your books, some character sheets and dice. Go get you a Hot Pocket or whatever your choice of food is, and go have a fun afternoon. Meet some new people, have some fun. And also, if you pay attention to your table, you will go away with ideas to put in your game.
So that's what I was just saying here. The Electric Goat says, my players are often their own worst enemies, to which I responded, I take notes. Oh man, it would really suck if this thing happened right now. Oh yes, it would. Let me go ahead and write that down.
I want to point out that you guys, it's not electric, it's eclectic.
Eclectic?
Whatever.
I don't have my glasses on. So.
Well, I don't know what Mr. Producer's problem is. He doesn't even have a body.
It says goat.
So I don't have eyes, I can't read.
Is that picture? I can't even tell what the picture is.
It's too small a circle for there, but it's eclectic goat, and we
Eclectic
appreciate you
goat.
being here. But yeah,
It's Electric Goat now.
what was it's electric goat? Now. Well, you've been renamed. Oh no, he's.
Sorry.
We don't know him.
Yeah,
If you'd like to volunteer as a producer, call 555. What was the one we were talking about where we were taking notes like that? It was one of the games.
We do that every time we play at a con somewhere.
I know I was watching you do it, Matt, whenever you were running through the UNT temple thing with all the snake people. Yeah, that was your whole outline, was UNT temple snake people thing.
Yeah, UNT. There's a crystal. Go.
Yeah. And then when people are like, "Oh man, is this gonna happen?" You're like, "Oh, maybe." As you're writing stuff down.
Yeah, not behind this door, but in 2 or 3 doors.
We come away with pages of material. Every time we play at a con, it's always with people we've never seen before. And so there's all kinds of different game styles and personalities at the table. And you have such a notebook full of ideas.
Yeah, and
Hold
it doesn't
on,
matter
Trevor.
what you have together.
All right.
Whatever
Yeah.
is going to happen
Here,
immediately.
to our point, because we've written one that we've had great success with. Troy, will you please grab that folder behind you? Let's talk a little bit about
Oh my god.
the adventure that is Romper Room.
Let me go over that. Switch over to
So
Troy Cam.
Yeah. Now I want to hear about. So this is our update. This is our 5th edition update. We've had this one for, I don't know, Troy. You've been running it for 20 years, I think, off and on in different versions.
yes, I'm that old.
So,
Yeah.
but then our 5th edition, when we took it to our first Tremendicon, tell me about the people that played this, because it's ran 3 versus 3.
It's played 3 versus 3 with 3 hours live time, meaning the clock doesn't stop. So if you want to cast a spell or do something, and the DM will tell you, okay, that's going to take you 2 minutes to do that, or it's going to take you 30 seconds to run upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have all kinds of timers. And there's times when something could happen to your character. Hey, now you're stuck for 15 minutes. I have a 15-minute timer. And it becomes a running gag after a while. But when we got to play this, it's player versus player. The synopsis of the game is that the 3 heroes are hired for the evening to watch and babysit 3 children for the evening, because mom and dad it's a wedding anniversary and they're going out for dinner and dancing and celebrate their 14th year anniversary. They are Kinder. If you don't know what Kinder are, look up in the world of Kryn. Dragonlance. They have the attention span of a 2-year-old when they're an adult.
They are wound so tight they can literally die from boredom.
Yes. And they are completely immune to dragon fear. If they were to walk up and meet a dragon face to face, everybody else would wet their pants and then run off and figure for the rest of their life.
That's if you pass the save.
Yeah. Whereas a Kinder is going to walk up to him and go, "Wow, you're a dragon? That's really cool. What's it like to fly? Can you really eat people?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, does it hurt when I do this?" Yeah, so they're completely immune to dragon fear. Their country and their homeland has been invaded multiple times, but no invading army has ever stayed more than a couple of weeks, because an entire country of 2-foot-tall people coming up to you and stealing everything that's nailed down. Yeah. What? That can't possibly be yours. It was in my pocket. How could it be yours if it was in my pocket?
Yeah.
Absolutely. You're not going to argue with that. Anything that's in their house for more than 30 minutes is considered to be a family heirloom.
Yeah.
So, yes. So, when we played this at Tremendicon, we managed to find a whole family. There was 3 adults. There's mom, dad, and an uncle. And then they had 4 kids. And they were teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
And so the 3 kids played the babysitters, and the 3 adults played the kids. And it was on from go.
Tell them the setup, Troy.
So the initial setup, picture if you will, 3 kids, and mom and dad say, "Bye kids, mind the babysitters," and they leave, walking down the lane to dinner. And the babysitters look back at the house. There's one running around on top of the roof of the house. There's one playing with a puppy in the front yard, and you do not see the 3rd kid anywhere. And go.
So the first thing that the paladin says was what?
Well, he's like, "Get off the house now."
Well, that was one of the kids that was the paladin telling their parents who
Right.
was the kid to get off the house.
And mom looked at him and said, "Suck it up, old man." Yeah, it just started, and it was on like that. Yeah, so they got to take a revenge on their kids for everything. It was a lot of family therapy worked out in a couple hours. It really was.
Bring us back.
It was pretty funny.
So and as you can imagine, it just gets crazier from there. The kids have access to things like the pacifier of ogre strength, the baby booties of elven kind, the t-shirt,
pass wall.
well, the t-shirt of spider climb, and the tricycle of pass wall.
Pacifier of invisibility.
So, and your whole goal, right, is to get the kids to eat dinner and go to bed. 3 hours go. And it's, so this is one of ours. We play it. We do actually have these available at, we sell this through Griffin's Keep. LLC.com, I think it is.
Griffinskeep.us.
Ah, there it is. Griffinskeep.us
/shopping.
/shopping.
It's also at a couple of local game stores.
Yeah, and then we're carried locally. But if you catch us at a con, you can play this. This is one that we take with us everywhere. It is a good time. So, again, play wherever you can. You'll find different games. You'll find different people to play with.
And the interesting thing about this adventure, if you will, they give it that title loosely. This could be easily adapted to any setting.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, you could do Cyberpunk Kids.
Oh my gosh!
You could do Gurps. You could do Savage World.
Could you imagine like a bionic commando little kid? His arm just...
Yeah, he's got a stretchy arm.
Or maybe not,
because he can get into the cookie jar. You're like, son of a bitch.
But it's easily adaptable to any world setting.
So, take those opportunities to go play in things that you haven't seen before, because you'll have a lot of fun. That's where we're getting at that one, and that's one that we've had a lot of success with. It's how many times? What was the percentage of time the house burns down?
It's about 50-50.
50-50. The house burns down.
Yeah, every time
babysitting children.
Every time I've watched it played, the house has burned down. And I didn't watch it be played last time, but the last time it was played, 2 kids and 1 babysitter died.
Yes.
Yeah, they fell into the trash can. You'll have to buy the module to figure out why that's a problem. But
it is a serious problem. Yeah.
It's so again, we have a lot of fun. Play local. Get out there and just meet your other players. Write whatever, test it out. Get your feedback. You'll develop as a player. You'll have more fun in the hobby. And you'll make way more friends. It's a lot of fun that way.
Ditto.
So I think that covers everything we've done last year, everything we're looking at coming up next year, and a lot of the advice.
We're going to talk about good guys, bad guys, and how to make them. Mm-hmm. How to make them pay. Excellent.
You can also have bad guys that are willing to help you out for their own bad guy and nefarious reasons.
Oh, yeah.
Like for example, I have, he's a revenant, right? So somebody killed him in a bad way, and he wants to take revenge on that person. But he'll help you out of your situation if you'll help him out of the pit trap that he got pushed into.
Yeah, you'll find a lot of NPCs that I make will be chaotic neutral thieves of some type.
Yeah.
And they will do what you just described. I will help you get this if you help me get that.
Yeah, the Quid Pro Quo is one of the best low-level bad guy.
Oh, absolutely.
And what's cool about those is the thief in most of the lore, particularly Greyhawk, they're always associated with some other organization.
Yeah.
Right, and so now
you're is punished.
Well, the point being that it allows you layers, right? So it's not just this guy. Now you can they come and meet him again in 3 chapters. Well, now hold on. The Thieves Guild that has been kicking our butt for the last 2 game sessions is really this guy, and we helped him do it.
Yeah. You got Thieves Guilds. Anybody that loves the Mandalorian knows what an Assassin's Guild is.
Oh yeah.
They have their hidden little secret ways to find their hideout.
Mm-hmm.
Thieves Guilds are just the same.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Thieves Can't is.
Is all about. Yeah.
You have symbols, graffiti tags on the wall. Is a way to find where the group is hanging out. Yeah, and if you work for one gang, the Bloods, and you go over in this area, the Crips, you're gonna have a bad day.
Yeah, it's not gonna work.
No,
but
so it's the same kind of thing, just different terminology.
So let's wrap this one up. Troy, what are you looking forward to most next year?
Oh, I got some fantastic ideas for bad guys. I'm gonna bring back some of my ones that the guy that constantly gets away.
Oh yes.
And I'm going to explain how, and then how he keeps getting away, and then why you want him to keep getting away for the players in the story and the drama. And I'm going to explain how all that works and why it makes such a great story. Tune in again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Well, we'll see if he can,
for sure.
I love the bad guys.
So for me, I am very excited to continue playing live. I'm really looking forward to doing more conventions this year.
Oh yeah.
We've talked about trying to get to at least 3, including Tremendicon.
Yeah.
So we always have a good time. It's a lot of work, but that's where I'm looking forward to being at. In addition to our live stream episodes, in addition to some of the work we want to do with our YouTube channel, in addition to probably heading back. I mean, it's going to be busy for us, and we hope that you'll come along because the goal is to build the community, right? So we don't know everything. We want to tell you what we know, and hopefully it helps you out in some way so that we can all have more fun in the hobby, is what it comes down to. So that's what I'm looking forward to, is continuing our mission, having more fun, and playing at some conventions.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to, is playing at the conventions.
That's always fun.
Because, I mean, it's always, you know, every time that we would go to play at a convention, we'd always have the people like, oh, I've never played before. So, well, then you're here now. Just sit down for a couple hours. We'll run through a game. We'll have some fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How much dice have we given away? We always give away dice.
Well, I had to buy another 100-round box.
There we go. So we give away a lot of dice. So come play with us. We'll give you some dice.
We give away probably 100 sets of dice a year.
Easy. And it's always the new player.
Yep.
So
yeah, if you play with us at a convention, we will give you a set of dice. So that's like my thing. If you come play with us, it's your first time ever playing, I will give you a set of dice. Hell, I'll probably give you a set of dice just because you came and played with us.
For sure.
So
all right, so we got final here. Eclectic Goat, do you guys ever participate in other live streams? I'd love to have you on sometime. Yeah, Eclectic Goat, please go ahead and send us that information via Discord. Myself or Troy, Mr. Producer even. As you can see, we've got our studio. This is one of the things actually we haven't talked about. We're looking forred to redoing the studio again.
Yep.
So
we do it every. That's one of the things we also do during our January, February break is we redecorate the studio so it doesn't look the same.
And to your point earlier, Eclectic Goat, we're going to bring in some of our other game material. Right now, we're very heavy in D&D, but we're going to make sure that we include those other systems. We've expanded our collections over the last year and a half, and we want to make sure that we're not, we are D&D players, and then particularly that's one of our core games. We want to talk about gaming generally, so we're going to make sure that the studio reflects that. So please definitely reach out to us on Discord. Our Discord link is on the YouTube channel. If you need it, I can get you one specifically. And we would love to join you and have conversations around gaming or anything else you got going on. So absolutely, it'd be fun. In the meantime, Troy, any final thoughts?
No, I'm blank.
All right, he is blank. Mr. Producer, have you got a buddy yet?
Oh my God, what is that thing over there?
All right, yeah. So, I'm Jester Borris with I Want to Be a GM. This, of course, was
this. What? No.
Yes.
I'm Troy, the Planescape Guy, and we're here with I Want to Be a GM. You can find us at.
Broken. He is blank.
We'll try that again.
All right.
It's Troy, the Planescape Guy.
It's the end of the year.
Boris, get the clapper. I don't have hands.
No. All right, Troy, the Planescape Guy. Tell them where they can find us.
Take 3. And...
Troy, the Planescape Guy. With I Want to Be a GM, you can find us at our .com, Facebook, Discord, and YouTube pages. YouTube was right here. I hate you guys.
It's how we have fun. But yeah, check us out. We've got some updates to all of our stuff going on, and again, we're here to help everybody with their game. So until next year, where you can find us through the expanse with allies and
Take 2.
Allies and enemies, good guys and bad guys.
Maybe you can find these guys because I might retire. Yeah, through the expanse, starting in January, February, March. Yes, the third one.
Yes.
So look for those episodes to be posted. We've already got the schedule posted on the Discord. And then until then, be safe. Have a great holiday season. And we look forward to seeing you all the next year.
Yes. Merry Christmas. Happy, safe New Year's. We'll see you on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Peace.